Elaine Roberts, filmmaker, producer, writer. Thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. The film is One Last Breath. Would you like to share anything before we start?
It's one of my personal favorites, one of the first shorts that I did, and it was a great experience as far as both. I think it's a very personal, important message. It deals with like the last letters to loved ones from Marines, from when they go to war and battle and their families. So it's very moving. It was a very moving story to tell.
It's very well written and well produced, and it's a tough film to see. The storyline is, a man dies at war and leaves a letter to his beloved who he, had a child with just prior to going off to war. So he leaves an orphan behind and a widow. So that's the storyline. The theme is love, war, devotion is really what I got out of the film. Loving devotion as a theme, and especially as it's exemplified by the man's life, but also by the tips that he leaves behind for his child. So the very first question to play it forward is, where did the story live in you? The feeling for it, the passion behind it. How did that develop in you?
It was exactly that. It we actually saw an article about it, the last letters, and we were just reading several of these, and we're like, how terrible it must be to have to go through that because, as you mentioned, devotion. They're devoted to the country that ultimately keeps their family safe, but you also have that devotion to your family. So, for myself, as a mother and having a family, it was very it was touching and it was difficult, and we wanted to give that space, we wanted to give that voice, so that's why we created the film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In terms of seeing the film now yourself, after it's all been said and done as a viewer and having that special insight as a creator, what do you feel is the message of the movie?
That life is difficult and you have to appreciate what you have, and at every moment. And like the protagonist did, even in that last night when he was writing the letter, you know, he was giving the tips to the son as, thinking about the son growing up, knowing that he possibly most likely wouldn't be there. So, life could be short. So it's important to just always proceed with love, no matter in what situation you're in. We all have bad moments. We could get angry, we could get disappointed, but at the end of the day, it's life, and you just want to love the people you have around, because there's always something greater happening, whether it's a war, someone going through an illness, and it's important to remember that. um so what's more important than your family and your loved ones? Yeah. It's a tough story to tell, but it's important.
It is very important. And I think, to get to the place where, as a human being, you can say to always proceed with love. That is the foundation, sort of the center, the emotional center, the intellectual center, is a really, sophisticated and important and beautiful place to get to. How do you feel you got there in your life?
I think, I mean, for myself, and I would assume for others, it's the experiences in life. You experience certain difficulties growing up as a child at whatever age. And I had a cousin who was a cop, and he was murdered, you know. Um my mom had an illness and she passed when I was younger. So it's probably just experiences in life. And it makes you realize life is short, and these things when, you all have your bad days, whether it's work or school or whatever you're dealing with in your life, but it's not going to be the end of the world. It's always better to just go back to the place of remembering what's important. You have your family, hopefully, whoever's around you, just always prioritize that and get through it, because you never know what's going to happen tomorrow.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. I definitely hear you. So often we learn through suffering, and we learn these, critical values that, hey, what is really the most important thing? And love and acting out of love is, a great way to lead to one life and make the most of it. In terms of change after you've made this movie and everything that went into it, all the love and hard work that you put into it, how were you changed by the film?
It's always great to go through an experience. As far as filmmaking goes, I always tell everyone, you just make your movie. Even if you have no budget, go out there and make your movie and tell your story however you can, because that in itself is going to change you. You're going to know what it's like, to not just have something in your head or a feeling or an emotion or a thought or writing it. You're going to visually see it, right? So that is always empowering, and kind of gives you, that achievement level where you're like, okay, I did this. I was able to tell a story I wanted to tell, and it came out the way I wanted to, and I'm proud of it. So you could go on to doing the next thing. And as far as on a personal level, um, I felt accomplished to kind of, give them, anyone that experienced the loss from somebody that went to war, and even those veterans that passed and sent their letters and stuff, it feels good to have given them a voice as best as I could. So yeah.
That's awesome. Elaine Roberts, the film is One Last Breath, writer, producer. The dad's tips to live by, those 5 are ridiculous. With your blessing, we'll add them to the posts and share them with everyone.
Yeah, cool. Thank you.
All right, Elaine, thank you so much for being on the show. Please keep us posted of any future work. Love to see it and share it with the audience.
I will. Thank you so much.
All right, everybody, play it forward. Thank you for being here, and we will catch you next time.